I'm so excited to have you all here. This is the second annual Fairygodboss Inspiration Summit. And just for context, this is a summit, this is a virtual program that we created last year, kind of observing that at that time, after a year of lockdown, after a year of living with the pandemic, we were seeing such intense burnout and a lack of enthusiasm and just exhaustion within our community. And so we were really excited to create a day in which we could hear from other women about their experiences, their work, and reconnect with our purpose, reconnect with our ambition, reconnect with our inspiration. And so here we are, the second annual virtual event. It's been another really hard year, and we are, um, you know, same idea. We're going to hear from amazing women today, and we're going to talk about real, authentic things. Nothing's off the table. We're here to talk about the experience of being a woman in the workplace and managing work and life and all the challenges and burnout and COVID living and family and elder care and all the things that we're experiencing right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll start by telling you about Fairygodboss. We are the largest career community for women. Um, and Georgine, tell us about you and how Fairygodboss came to be.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us at the second annual Inspiration Summit. My name is Georgine. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fairygodboss. And today the timing is actually really great to talk about how we rise, because after hitting rock bottom with women's labor force participation rates in the US back to 1980s levels, as of last month's job report, we're off the lows and women are starting to re-enter the workforce, and we're all taking stock and readjusting after 2 years of pandemic living. For those of you who are new to Fairygodboss, we are the largest career community for women, and our mission is to help women achieve their career goals. We provide a safe space where you can be authentic, feel supported, and get advice and feedback from a group of women committed to really sharing what we know. We also connect millions of women with employers who are committed to improving equity, diversity, inclusion, and actively interested in recruiting more women into open job roles that they have. What makes us special is this peer-to-peer wisdom, career and life advice. We really believe that there's power in numbers and in networking, but to learn and share honestly, sometimes you need to be anonymous. And because of our community, we've got our finger on the pulse of what women in the workplace face every day. Lately, there's been a lot of conversation about returning to work, working in a remote, hybrid, or on-site way, and adjusting to new jobs. There's been a lot of reshuffling in terms of people's jobs in the past couple of years. And with that is a lot of change that we have to adapt to. We also see in general a lot of ambition to be promoted, to move to a new industry, to get a new job. You can hear and see this if you are a member of our community every day. And the theme of today is lifting as we climb, and you may be asking yourself how to do that when you may feel a little challenged or you're struggling yourself. What we see is that even those of us who don't have a C-suite title can really have a meaningful influence. We can each individually help other women, and this can be as simple as empathizing with them, making someone feel heard. It can also mean sharing your experiences and advice about how to be successful at your company in a job review. Job reviews were the cornerstone of our platform. When we launched 7 years ago, I was looking for a new job and I was 2 months pregnant and felt very unsure about the employers that I was interviewing at. So our job reviews are a great way to get the inside scoop from other women about what it's like to work there. We really believe in the power of community and are so grateful to be also working with employers who have about 500,000 open jobs on fairygodboss.com. The employer partners that we have, and some of who you'll meet today, are filled with role models, women and men who are working towards making the workplace one that's better for women, underrepresented minorities, and pretty much everyone. If you think that your employer can benefit from partnering with us, please reach out.
And now, just to frame the conversations we're going to have today, I wanted to take a look at some data and research from the landscape. So we see what's going on in the world. I'm sure many of you know this, but a lot of people are calling the years 2020 and 2021 the She-cession. We saw 3 million women exit the workforce during the COVID pandemic. This was an observation from the head of Lean In. She said, if we had a panic button, we'd be pushing it. It's very sobering to hear that we are back to 1980s levels of workforce participation among women. So all the progress that was gained since the 1980s was lost in the last 2 years. As Georgine mentioned, we've just started to see some return to work among women in the last couple of months, but I hate to say that I see so much uncertainty on an ongoing basis around COVID and around the stability of schools and childcare. And you look at a city like Philadelphia that is back to indoor masking. So the idea that we will be in a stable childcare situation again continues to seem elusive. We also see that the impact of less stable childcare dramatically impacts women significantly more than men. This was research from Fortune that showed that women took on, just in 2020, 173 additional hours of childcare compared to just 59 taken on by men. So there continue to be these really institutionalized gender roles that make all these systemic issues impact women much greater than men. No surprise then that women are considerably more burned out than their male counterparts and more burned out than even they were in 2020. So this is from McKinsey and Lean In. 42% of women say they feel like they're almost always burned out. Anyone else feeling burned out? If you are and you're brave enough, feel free to talk about it in the chat. And we'll talk about it today. A lot of what we're going to focus on today is how do you address those feelings of burnout and how do you find that inspiration and invigoration again? The other thing that hasn't gone away, even when we're remote working, are microaggressions. We see that women are considerably more likely to experience microaggressions in the workplace than our male counterparts. And that goes even more so for women of color, even more so for LGBTQ plus women, even more so for women with disabilities. And some of the microaggressions that were cited or noticed, being interrupted in meetings, having your judgment questioned, that is so frustrating. Having others comment on your emotional state. So we're going to address that today too. Another piece of research that I always watch is a tracking study that comes out of McKinsey and Lean In, and it shows that there's an enormous deficit in terms of promotions for women from entry level up through the senior ranks. And so I think a lot of people see, and this data, this complex chart, what it shows is that the entry level of the workforce is 48% women, but by the time you get to the C-suite, it's just 24%. And I think a lot of people look at this data and think, this is because women drop out, right? It's because of the childcare thing we just talked about. It's because of family responsibilities. But actually, what McKinsey found is it isn't. They found that it's a result of the fact that women don't get the promotions, and then they get frustrated, and then they drop out. So a lot of our focus today is also going to be around career development, career advancement, and how even within this construct, we are able to elevate ourselves, elevate each other, and work our way up through this funnel to the top ranks. A lot of people are starting to return to the office after 2 years of working in our homes. But as this article from the Harvard Business Review acknowledged, women don't want to go back to pre-pandemic status quo. These quotes below came from a New York Times survey that they had done, and I thought these were so poignant. A woman said, "I'm never going back to being the last parent to pick up my child from school. I'm never going back to being separated from my children for 10 or 11 hours a day. I'm never going back to sending work-related emails after dinner or on the weekends." Do a lot of you feel like you don't want to go back to pre-pandemic status quo? What are some of the things you don't want to go back to? And then as we go back, I think one of the challenges that we face is There are some people who do want to go back to pre-pandemic status quo. There are people, and unfortunately, it skews toward white men who want to go back to the office and go back to work the way it was. And so when we move into a hybrid world where there's optionality, is that going to create a situation where white men are much more likely to be the ones back in the office dominating the office because those are the people that opt for office life? And how does that impact our advancement, our treatment, our equal playing field as we move forward? So today, we are focusing on how to feel motivated again. How do we challenge the status quo and advocate every day for each other? Advocate every day for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to talk about earning money and advancing our career. We're going to talk about how to manage this return to office thing. We're going to talk about dealing with imposter syndrome, which I know is something a lot of you are asking about. We talk about personal finance and making sure we're all making money and investing money and keeping money. And most importantly, we're going to talk to each other. And even though we're virtual, let's use this amazing tool in Cisco WebEx to find each other, get to know each other, network with each other. We'll be having networking sessions later on too. And let's focus on you. There's a quote from Steve Martin that I love that's, be so good, they can't ignore you. So we're going to talk about how do you identify your value and increase your value and create your future.
We have a lineup of amazing speakers on the agenda throughout the day. But as Remy said, it's not just about listening and learning, it's also about participating and connecting with new people. You can do this in the sessions, through the chat, on our community feed, which will be tracking this event all day, or on our social media handles. And it doesn't end today. You can always sign up for a free account on fairygodboss.com so that the summit and these good vibes and this wisdom stays with you. You can scan this QR code right now and leave it on and sign up whenever you have a free moment. And of course, none of this day would be possible without the support of our amazing sponsors. Thank you to Cisco for being our platinum sponsor. Thank you also to Robinhood, RBC Wealth Management, and ServiceNow, ABB, Dish, General Motors, Indeed, KinderCare Education, Pfizer, SciEx Phenomics, Spectrum, Stop and Shop, United Health Group, Conferences for Women, Henkel, Johnson & Johnson, Lumen, Memorial Sloan Kettering, and Northwestern Mutual, last but not least, for all that you do to support women in the workplace today and every day.